Hey, Gabriel,
Hey, Gabriel Jose.
where are we today?
You are in your apartment. I am at a hotel.
Oh, look at him, Mr. Fancy Pants. But I mean, to be completely fair, is that you're at a hotel that is not that far from your place. Is that you're still enjoying the tenderloin vibe.
Yeah, I mean, it's like 1 block away, but there's not a party here. So I'm just here sheltering from the party that's at my home.
You have to count your victories. That's completely fine. So yeah, regardless of parties or actually connecting with parties, other type of political parties, what do we watch today?
We watched the 2020 history drama called Dear Comrades by I just lost the director and I can't remember his name. Andrei Konchalovsky.
Can you pronounce the last name again?
I'm guessing it's Konchalovsky, but it could be Konchalovsky. There's only one, it's like Spanish. There's only one accent of a vowel.
Oh, gotcha. Huh. Okay, that's interesting. And this was your pick. Why did you pick this?
I picked this mostly because it's different than what I usually pick. And after that conversation we had several podcasts ago about it's clear what my go-to movie is, I was like, yeah, maybe I should branch out.
Well, I would say I didn't mention that in a pejorative way.
I didn't feel like you were criticizing.
Yeah.
But I was like, yeah, I think you're more well-rounded in your movie taste. I was like, I should try and get out.
You have a preference, we all have a preference. So that was the only reason. Is like it could have been this, as it could have been like a comedy or a musical.
Well, I had read about this in the New York Times a few days before our podcast, and they said it was a really good film. It got the special jury prize at the Venice Film Festival. Does that sound right?
It could be.
So, I mean, I knew it was a good film. I lived in Russia. It just, for all those reasons, that's why I picked it.
Okay, no, that's good. So I guess that as this was your pick, it's my turn to summarize what happens on this movie. All right, so I didn't know that this was based on a historical event. I have to say that I'm pretty ignorant when it comes to Russian or Soviet Union story, but basically it takes place in a small village in the 60s, in 62, I think that it is, and the story takes place over 5 days, something like that, where the party, the Communist Party, decides to raise the prices of groceries in general. Let's just summarize. Groceries goes up, and at the same time, just doing a great combo, they decide to reduce all the factory wages. So people actually have their acquisitive power. That is interesting to just think about that concept in a communist, a society, but it actually just goes off. Is that people cannot afford meal, they cannot love. I like that they repeat multiple times kefir. That I guess that it used to be big in the Soviet Union.
It's still big, and it's so good.
That's big.
I still drink all the time.
Huh, okay. It may be a socialist and communist thing, because in Spain, my mother also really liked kefir, and for me, this is disturbing. What you have here is just weird.
It's very weird. It took me a while to like it, but by the end of my time there, I was like, hell yeah, give me some kefir. You can buy it at Trader Joe's, by the way.
Oh, I didn't know that. Oh, okay, that's cool. You get a guess, going back to the movie. So the story follows this woman, this comrade from the party, that is part of the committee that is planning all of this, and she has a father that is part of the Tsar resistance, the Tsar's military force. So she actually fought for the losing side, before, during the war, for just installing the communist regime. And the daughter works at the factory, and she is not really too keen with the communist regime, about how the Communist Party is doing it. So the only true believer of the communist regime is the mother.
Yeah, and she...
Yeah, so basically the whole story is about how her fate on the Communist Party gets questioned over and over when stuff happens. And the stuff that happens is that there are like several protests of all the factory workers, and then, spoiler alert, the KGB, not the army, the KGB start like shooting on them, and they kill like a lot of people. So afterwards, they try to hide events. They try to pretend it's like nothing happened. No one can just say anything. They organize even like a dance party in the middle of the village. And meanwhile, this woman is actually just trying to find her daughter with his KGB lover.
Yeah,
that's basically it, you know. And then we feel like we have some kind of resolution that she loses, that she actually have some kind of quote-unquote closure, that someone tells her, like, yeah, I actually carried your daughter to this grave, and she died, you know, because of course she was dead. And 5 minutes later, there is this kind of roller coaster about like, no, she was not dead, she was hiding on the same building that she lives all the time for the whole duration of the movie. There is a, okay, you throw me a curveball here. But did I miss anything?
No, I mean those are the big points. So we see almost the entire story from the perspective of Luda,
the mother, yeah.
And I think she's just everywhere you look, there are contradictions and hypocrisies, and you just see her like she's kind of committed to the party, but then she sees all the hypocrisy. She even herself has access to better goods than everybody else because she works for the party, but that's not how it's supposed to work. But I just found it interesting that in every scene there is some sort of contradiction. There's some sort of hypocrisy, and there's a wonderful scene where Luda is talking to her father, right, the veteran, and she's crying. This is before the massacre, I think, and she's just, you know, really wanting for the days of Stalin to be back because times were better then. And she says that in that time you understood who was a friend, who was a foe, and now everything is unclear. Yeah. She's like supposedly supporting this party, but she's also absolutely terrified of it.
Well, but she's also like just willing to justify like the price hikes, for example. And he's like just willing to also like take the fall. For like, well, we didn't explain it right. And he's like, oh, do you want to take the fall? He's like, I will do it because it's my responsibility. They're going to be like sending you as a nurse to the remote lands. And he's like, that's what it has to happen. She's a true believer, but at the same time, we see like a lot of incongruent behavior from her. That she's like just blindfolded. She's like very like narrow-sighted?
Narrow-minded.
Well, narrow-minded or short-sighted? Short-sighted, yeah. I come back like one of them. Short-sighted about like, okay, I'm going to be like skipping through all the people on the hospital, and I know that I can get away because other people will be like just kill or detain. Is that she will be like getting away with, I'm going to go to the morgue, I'm going to be asking what is my daughter, I'm going to be like going to the hospital, I'm going to be asking a nurse that is just signed or is about to sign like one of these secrecy clause. Is that I'm going to be asking about like what happened here. You know, is that anyone else would be just detained right away, and she was like just abusing of the treatment of favor. But at the same time, she said that is like, I believe in communism. If I cannot believe in communism, what I'm going to believe.
Yeah, and it's interesting because while I was there, first off, everybody said the times were better during communist times than it is now. This is 15 years ago. I've heard it's grown, like the middle class has grown significantly since I was there. But everybody said times were better during communist times, and then it was fun to see them in communist times, but post-Stalin time, and everyone's like, oh, life was better during Stalin, and they're like, oh, life was better during the Tsars. They always had better food, and they lowered the prices every year. What else was I going to say about being in Russia? I don't know. Did you watch it with Spanish subtitles?
Oh, there were the Spanish subtitles?
I don't know where you watched it. I assumed it was Filmin.
Oh, no. I mean, this is a Hulu movie.
Yeah, it's on Hulu. So you saw. So I found it hilarious, and it very much like a Kafka novel. The words they would use about that scene you described, where she's like, "We should be punished for this because we didn't do the clarification process right." There's all these absurd euphemisms they used that basically is a dictatorship saying you have to accept the terms of my dictatoring.
Yeah, and that's interesting because one of the scenes with the first protest of the factory workers is that there is the regional secretary goes to the village and he tries to give a speech and he's like, "Oh, you guys failed." He said, "You're terrible about explaining this. What is going on?" And he goes to give the speech and the speech is just bullshit. It's a Salidos euphemism about like for the good of the party that is only looking out for you. It's a nothing.
It's all just like they've been trained to spout these lies.
Exactly.
Communism is clearly not working in this time, at least for this town. I'm sure it was working great for Moscow at the time, but it's like a luxury to get a Hungarian liqueur. Like not everybody gets it, and they don't even have vodka. Which that is one thing I found. I was like, there was always vodka.
Everyone has vodka. Yeah. You open the tap and it's vodka directly, no water.
So it was interesting because my husband watched a brief part of it with me, and it was part of the meetings of the Communist Party where they were like, we have to give the army guns. Like, what's the point of the army without guns? And he grew up in Argentina during the dictatorship where like 30,000 people disappeared. And he's like, oh my gosh, this looks exactly like the meetings that my father used to lead because he worked for the dictatorship. And I was like,
Of course he did.
So what did you think of like the film's direction? I mean, immediately I understood, okay, there's not going to be a lot of like, I'm not going to care very much about these characters. This is clearly just a retelling of an historical event. So I didn't care that much about the characters. I thought they were all like kind of good and kind of bad.
Yeah. I mean, it's clear that the story is bigger than them. Is that we're just seeing like a significant event in history that it tried to just be like just swept under the rug, but at the same time it's bigger than these small characters. It's like we're just giving like one story of the 1,000 of them that they actually happened during this time, during this event. And I think that the direction was good. It was a bit heavy-handed, it's like a bit more, it's like, okay, he wants to see that there is someone directing this, that this didn't magically happen. And I don't have any kind of problem. It was good. It actually just kept it like more engaging. From the perspective of how the shots were made, everything will feel like pretty well thought. I mean, did you like, for example, like the shooting scene?
To be honest, it wasn't my favorite. It wasn't focused on the shooting itself. In fact, we never see somebody shooting, I think, but you kind of focus on Ludia's experience at the shooting, which is her just running around frantic. But the director he enjoys shooting through windows and door frames, which gave a sense of space and like security or the lack of security. I felt it came through extremely well. And so even in scenes that weren't the shooting, there was always like a sense of menace or like this undercurrent of claustrophobia and fear.
And I think that you're absolutely right. I didn't actually connect that, but it's true that there is like a lot of heavy framing into it, and it's true that when there's like just heavy framing, it's also for just trying to conquer or build the idea about like everything is a bit more enclosed or a bit more like a self-constrained, and it's exactly what is happening to these characters, that they're not allowed to complain, they're not allowed to have their own thoughts. Is that would be like just betraying like the party, And it's true that several times I thought about like, this is pretty Orwellian, it's like it's pretty clear that Orwell wasn't, not exactly a socialist or a communist when it came to actually just defending like totalitarian regimes, And you're right, I think that is that the directing was good.
And that's further that what you just pointed out was taken a step further by the filming ratio, which wasn't like widescreen at all. It was almost like a square, and it just felt like you were being crushed. I was blown away. I don't often notice those things like filming ratio, and I was like, oh, I get this one. Like, yes, I'm feeling like oppressed by this. What I'm seeing on the screen and how it is shot. But I do think his direction there were some images that as still frames they look incredible. Like when they're driving back from the cemetery after looking for the daughter, they go to the lake.
Oh yeah, well, she's like just going to the water.
But the birds that flew up and then flew back down, I was like, I don't know how they were so lucky to get this shot because it's incredible.
Yeah, no, visually there are like some scenes that they are like completely poetic. I agree with you. That part is pretty good, and the guy knows when to actually just remove the camera a bit from the action. You know, like in that case, even when they're in the graveyard, there are a couple of shots that we see them like from a bit far away instead of the close-ups that he usually uses. So from the directing, yeah, I mean, I was just hoping to just see if there was anything else that I knew about him, but I don't. I don't know if you check everything that he did.
Said that this director is famous for the most famous in America for a film he did in the 80s, but I hadn't heard of it. I heard about or in Russian it's Paradise.
Okay.
But I never saw it. I'm pulling up his full filmography. I feel like we did watch To Each His Own Cinema. Oh, I did see The Lion in Winter with Glenn Close. That was a TV movie here.
Oh, okay.
My late grandma asked me to watch it for like 4 years, and then I finally did, and it was actually good. She had terrible taste in movies, but so this one was really good.
I had a feeling that someone recommended this to me in one of the apps.
What apps?
Apps, just general apps.
Yeah. Runaway Train apparently was fairly popular in America in the 80s, according to the New York Times.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm a bit willing to just watch something else because from the directing perspective, I thought that he did a good job. You know,
he contributed to a documentary in 1995 called Lumiere and Company, which was like a celebration of 100 years of filmmaking, and a bunch of directors directed segments of it, including, guess?
I don't know, but are you going to say like the director? Are you going to say Coppola?
I'm going to say Michael Haneke, but I've never seen it. But now that like I know Michael Haneke did a segment, I know this guy did a segment, we should probably watch it.
Oh, there is a David Lynch segment. Yeah, we need to watch it. Yeah, now we need to watch it. Yeah, there are like 41 directors.
Oh wow. This could be awesome, like Paris Je t'aime, or it could be terrible, like that
New York, I Love You.
The 44 segments movie that was absolutely awful.
Yeah, you never know with one of these. But yeah, no, I was thinking about Hugo. Do you know about Lumiere? That is, these guys decided to do like a homage. And who was Hugo? It was Coppola?
It was the gangster guy. Yeah. No. It was
Scorsese? Scorsese, it was Scorsese.
Scorsese.
Yeah, the other gangster guy. And yeah, that was a homage to himself more than to anything else. He was like, I went to the cinema to watch this and I regret it.
Oof. Yeah. I got award season screeners at that time, so luckily I just watched it on a DVD at my home.
Okay, you already added to the list, like Lumiere and Company. Yeah. Overall, I really liked the movie, and it actually just left me wanted to watch more communist Russia, you know, like Soviet Union kind of movies. Have you watched Goodbye Lenin?
I have not.
Okay.
But I listened to the soundtrack a lot once upon a time. It has a very good soundtrack. Okay,
yeah, then that may count. Yeah, that may count. Basically like the same experience.
Yeah, so it was interesting to me that even though the Soviet Union has fallen, it's still there. They just call it Russia now. And so when the film started and it had the stamp of the Russian Ministry of Art, I was surprised it had that like kind of endorsement almost. Yeah. And so what I was saying earlier, that it became clear I wasn't going to care about the characters. So the purpose of the film was to see this historical event. And all of the effort that went in from the Soviet side to completely squash this from the news, and they did an incredible job. This didn't come out until the 90s. Like, nobody really knew that this happened. And there are some official reports, but they just call it liquidating a situation. They don't talk about like bodies and stuff.
Wow.
And so, as a testament to like the horrors of the Soviet Union, and I'm not saying everything was bad, but I think there was a lot bad about it. I think this is a fairly important and honest film.
Yeah.
That being said, what I enjoy most about movies is feeling emotions. I didn't feel that many emotions about this. Like, I didn't feel, besides that like menace and the claustrophobia, but
Yeah.
that's all I felt.
Yeah, that's an interesting point, because did you feel anything when they're at the graveyard and she started like just breaking down and then drinking in the car?
No, I mean that woman, the woman who played Ludia, I think her performance was quite good. I just think I don't know. There's just a disconnect there with me like caring about what's happening in the movies, and maybe that makes me a terrible person that I don't care about this. But
No, I don't think that that's the case. Well, you may be a terrible person for other reasons, but at least, for this one, I don't think that that's the case, because the character is presented like a big incongruence.
Yeah.
I think that the character was a representation of the Soviet Union. She was like the marriage of Maria Brown again.
I mean, there were so many little things that I appreciated. Like, she leaves that cemetery fully believing that her daughter is buried in a shallow grave, not even her own grave, in somebody else's grave, because they wanted to hide bodies. And all she can think to do while they're driving away is sing patriotic songs about doing anything to save the motherland, which she clearly doesn't believe at that point. She's super angry at this government that is...
I mean, she's having like a faith crisis. It's a bit more. It summarizes if I don't believe in this, what do I believe in? It's like I actually made all my existence about the Communist Party. It's like this is the only thing that I believe. It's like if you are telling me that the Communist Party is exactly what killed my daughter at the end of the day, it's like, what can I believe in? It's like so she's just going crazy, and she actually just goes back to what she understands, what she goes to the dogma of faith. That is like,
I agree completely.
It's the Communist Party. Let's just sing some patriotic songs.
And I just appreciated how many scenes there were where it's like the words aren't matching the actions, and like I liked all of those scenes. I thought there was a lot of thought that went into the script. That being said, I don't know if it's just me, but a film has a tremendous ability to disappoint me with the final lines of the scene of the film.
The movie.
And in this film, she discovers that her daughter has been hiding on the roof. She finds out she's alive, and she's hugging her daughter, and the daughter's like, am I going to go to prison? I don't know. And she just holds her daughter and says, we'll be better. Clearly like talking about hoping Stalinist communism came back. And I was like, this is the only thing I would have changed. So jumping to the questions, this film could have been better.
Yeah, I agree with you, and I already mentioned it on the summary. There's like, this is a curveball. It's like if it has ended like with Sila just going into the water, when the mother like going into the water and the birds like just flying away, that would be perfect. Like just wrap it up. Is that this is amazing. But after making her go through all of this, is like, why did you bring the daughter back? Is like, why did you say that? No, she wasn't dead. So it's like, she hasn't lost her faith in the Communist Party. So it's like, when you're saying about like, we will be better, is like, are you talking about the Communist Party? Are you talking about the Soviet Union? Are you talking about as a mother? What are you talking about? It waters down, I think, like the emotional payoff.
And again, the hypocrisy is that she became, close with that KGB agent who ended up helping her. And he says when he drops her off, like, if you find your daughter, just tell me and I'll fix it. So on one hand, she's like fully like believing in the Communist Party, and on the other hand, figuring out how to avoid it completely. It's aggravating as I talk about it.
Well, we don't know. We don't know if she's going to be avoiding it or not, because it's like it really like showing the air about like we will be better. That is like maybe she's going to be, because she even says at a point, it's like, if I find her, I will bring it to the justice myself, because I know that what she did was wrong, you know. And also, did you realize if I mean, I'm not completely sure about this, but I was like reading a summary because I wasn't sure. The KGB guy is the guy that we see her waking up with at the beginning of the movie.
Is it? I couldn't tell because I felt like the guy at the beginning was blonde and the KGB guy had dark hair, but they looked so similar. I couldn't tell if they were supposed to be the same or not.
I love that. Is it racist that we are saying is that they look similar because they were like both white and Russian? You know, are we just falling into that?
What is that kind of weird Spanish film that we had that great conversation about the writer is trying to make atonement for his past films and all the horrible things he did to his characters?
Pain and Glory?
No, it's weirder than that. It's about like the women that go to the island.
Oh, Lucia and the Sex?
Yes. So I watched that film high, and like 40 minutes in, I was like, Pablo, none of this makes sense because why would she do this? And he's like, those are two different women. And I was like, do all Spanish look the same to me?
Well, yeah, maybe, I don't know.
Anyway, yeah, I think we're a little bit racist for saying they all look the same.
Yeah, but honestly, I had to check it out because it was like, and this guy didn't come up again. And there is like some kind of friendliness with the KGB agent when he's in the house that is okay. I would expect a KGB agent, even if he's for investigating like the house of a party, of a member of the party, probably could be like a bit more aggressive. And he was always like just keeping some kind of distance and just trying to be helpful. You know,
yeah,
so
it makes way more sense when he's like, hey, do you mind if I take a look at your daughter's things? Because, well, I do have this search warrant.
Exactly, you know. So overall, I like it. It's the thing that I agree with you. That is that the emotional connection was not there, but I think that it's fine. I think that it's fine that not being emotional connect. I think that was not what I don't think that whoever brought the story brought it with the perspective of I want to make a crying story.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you just thought this is an important story that needs told. I'm going to tell it pretty fast.
Yeah. But
so
overall,
did the director write it?
No, how question. Let me just check it. Yep, co-writing with Elena Kiseleva.
Wow. Looks like he's written a lot of the stuff he directed.
Yeah, so I'm curious. I'm honestly curious. There are like some scenes that they're almost black comedy.
Yeah, but the blackest of comedy. Like there's comedy, but it's like it's bleak as hell.
Yeah, it's like okay, I can find this a bit hilarious, but at the same time, I shouldn't be laughing about it. Well, when she goes to the morgue, and the doctor comes out to smoke, you know, and they says, "I cannot show you anything here. There is nothing to see," while opening the door. You know, let's go inside. You cannot go to the hospital. That's not a permitted part, you know, for the visitors. And opening the door for just going to the hospital is like, okay, I see how that works.
The other scene that made me laugh out loud was when the KGB agent was making everyone sign the non-disclosure, like secret.
I just threw it away.
And the nurse is like, "So what am I not supposed to tell?" And he's like, "Nothing." About what? Anything. Nothing happened.
She was just playing along. The girl was just already. Nothing happened. What are you talking about? Yeah. Yeah. Should we go over the questions?
Yeah, let's do it.
Because I think that we both liked it. Would you watch it again?
Yes. Like if I were, I wouldn't seek it out. Like, oh, I want to watch that movie again. But if somebody was like, "Hey, I want to watch this," I'd probably watch it with them.
Yeah, I am the same way. It's a bit more of a, I already watched it, you know? It's not that some movies that we discuss about, like, oh, I want to watch it, like, right now. Again, It's like, no, it was good. It was, you know, it was not, like, too dry or too slow or anything. It was engaging, but at the same time, if it's more like, I watch it, I can move on.
Yeah, I think, I feel like I got as much out of it as I ever will in the first viewing.
That's fair. Yeah, that's a good point. Would you recommend it?
Yeah, for sure. I could see, like not to everyone, but there are plenty of people I know that would like this movie.
I mean, for me, if I remove the shooting that is a bit graphic, it's like I would recommend it to anyone. I was even thinking, if this is actually in any platform in Spain, I may actually even recommend it to my parents. That is like, I like that I always mention my parents as, like the lowest denominator about like, if I can recommend it to my parents, I can recommend it to anyone.
I see it more as like you're judging how family friendly it is. Like, can this appeal to a broad audience?
Well, but my parents are like the broadest of the audiences. And I think that sometimes you actually do like the opposite part. Is like, would you recommend it to me?
yeah. Like, would I recommend it to us? Yeah.
Yeah. Then I would recommend it to someone at least. Would you remember this movie?
I think so. I think the fact that this was an actual historical event that was effectively suppressed, and I'm only finding about it now. That's a powerful thing to me. Yes, I'll remember that.
I'm more of a maybe. I'm not sure. I don't trust myself on this one, honestly. I think that if someone asked me about what was this about a year from now, it's like, it was about something that happened in Russia, and it was bad, but I don't remember anything else. But probably there were like a lot of fees.
The fact that there was a massacre that the government hid. I'm not going to remember the details about the daughter or who Luja was sleeping.
Yeah.
Sleeping with.
Well, I mean, I had the feeling that from my perspective, I have the high level idea that is like the Soviet Union did this like twice a year at least. Probably not. Hopefully they didn't. It would be like, I don't know. I don't want to say like funny or curious or anything, but it's like, imagine that they were like just discovering like more like this.
Yeah. I'm sure there were more, but never came to the light of day.
Yeah, and I don't think that the Russia nowadays is like just like excited about like, oh, by the way, like 40 years ago or 60 years ago, we had another, like carnage like this.
Especially since they all missed the Soviet Union. So
exactly, yeah. Is there anything artistic about it?
Yeah, it's beautifully shot. Just beautifully shot. The black and white didn't come off as a gimmick. I was worried it would. The aspect ratio, the framing, the lighting. Yeah, it was really, really nice.
Yeah, I agree with you. I felt every single time that I see a modern movie that is shot in black and white, I always feel like, are you trying to be like artsy-fartsy? But no, this one, it actually just helped. I tried to be like a bit more realistic. Did you think of Roma while watching this?
No, but I haven't seen Roma.
Oh, I'm not going to add it to the list.
Yeah, I heard it was just long and boring, so...
Yeah, but it was like another one that it just tries to... I mean, Roma is also a bit more about like just trying to depict like his own experience as growing up in Mexico in that convulsing time. But somehow it reminded me a bit of this, but that one is a bit more like human, more like, no, I want to make you cry. And this was like, I don't care if you cry or not. Honestly, I don't think that it is like, it's like, I'm telling you what happened, and I'm just using these people as vehicles for just making like the incongruence of this regime. But that's it. If you don't want to cry, I'm not going to be like just chasing you down. But yeah, I agree that it's like the style is nice. The four thirds, we watched it with a ghost story, like the aspect ratio. It had also like the four thirds. That's something that
I didn't even notice that.
Yeah, we discussed it on the podcast. That I said that it's like every single shot is like an Instagram picture. It's just made with that purpose.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that I'm going to start adding like a conversation, like a question to this. It's like, it's not only about like you will remember our this movie, and if you will remember this conversation.
That's fair.
Yeah, but in any case, I think that there is like something artistic. The director knew what he was doing, and it actually works pretty well.
Yep, I agree.
Yeah, do you think that it's a timeless piece?
Yeah, I think so. I think watching this movie 50 years in the future would have the same effect on me as watching it now.
Yeah, I agree. I think this is a great, completely out of time kind of movie. It's like I think that the style that he uses, I think that he could have been shot like 20 years ago, and it would have worked exactly the same way.
Yep.
So that's good. Could you turn this into a TV show?
Absolutely not. 2 hours was kind of pushing it. But I feel, again, I got as much out of this story as I can. I feel like if they stretched it out to a television show, they would have more characters and more like side plots, and I don't think I would have gotten more out of this.
Yeah, for me, I think that I may be partially interested, like a story that it takes place in the Soviet Union with a similar kind of tone to this, as I was telling you, I would like to see more movies like this one, like just depicting that reality of that time. So maybe it would be terrible, as you said, it's like 2 hours. It was already like, okay, this has been good, it has been engaging, please just let's be done with this.
Well, we could watch Solaris and you would see what it's like to drive in the Soviet Union for 20 minutes.
Holy shit. That's the only part of Solaris that I watched. I was like those 5 minutes or 10 minutes or whatever it was, and it's like, I'm not putting up with this shit. I'm sorry, Solaris. I'm sorry. No, I never. I'm sorry, Tarkovsky. I'm sorry, Stanisław Lem. I'm not putting up with this shit.
You made me sit through The Stalker and you won't watch Solaris.
Stalker is a good movie. Stalker is a good movie. Solaris, I don't know if it's a good movie or not. I can tell you that it's not a good opening of a movie.
That's fair.
So last question, do you think that this movie could have been better?
Yeah, I mean, again, I'll say I think this is a good, solid, it's above average movie, absolutely. But there are a few things that I would have changed. I don't think it needs to be 2 hours. I didn't particularly like the story with the daughter. That last line, which I just can't get out of my head. But these are minor complaints. Overall, great film.
Yeah, I agree with you. I would have changed the ending. We have actually just cut the last 5 minutes when she re-encounters with the daughter. It's like,
I agree with you. It would have been a way stronger film if we just ended the movie not knowing what happened to the daughter.
Well, we assume what happened, but we don't have like 100% confirmation. We never see the corpse.
I think that's one of the reasons we both liked Loveless so much is we end the story before finding out what happened to the kid, because that's the point, is that, yeah.
They move on?
Anyway.
They just move on and they say like, just fuck the kid.
Like, this is Russia.
Yep. It's like, and we're running a treadmill. That's amazing. So we score it?
Yeah, we should.
And as this was your pick, I think that it's my turn to score first, and my score is an 8.
Interesting. Mine is a 7.5. I think this is a good film, but it's not incredibly elevated to me.
It's not incredibly what?
Elevated.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I mean, I think there were a couple of scenes that they really engaged me. I forgot to mention this. I love, this is not like a scene to love, but on the shooting. And when she goes back, when we can see them like just running around outside of the hairstylist, and you can see like the music of the saloon like playing, the hairstylist gets shot, she's like just bleeding on the ground, convulsing, and then just coming, and we can see like how they open is like all the chaos comes in. I feel like that they're like really powerful scenes. The only thing that I'm a bit iffy is like they're powerful scenes, but as there is not so much emotional attachment, it's like, if I'm not going to be remembering this, if you were to ask me like 6 months in the future about like, do you think that this was the score to give? I don't know, but a 2-hour movie that makes me engage about it, it has a merit, when it's not written by Tarantino. So.
Yeah, so when I mentioned earlier about how much I enjoyed the shots through frames, that is the scene I thought, like her standing in the hairdresser, or crouching in the hairdresser and watching everything happen outside like that. He knows what he's doing in those scenes. It's incredible.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the reason why I would like to see more by this director. You know, if he can use those kind of resources, you know, in powerful ways in other movies, in other stories, he may be amazing.
Well, let's go through his filmography and find at least something to watch by him at some point in the future.
No, definitely. Yeah, probably not in black and white. Let's just
That's
force him.
fine.
Yeah, let's just force him to use some color.
And he directed a lot of American TV and films, it looks like, so.
Yeah,
Or
no.
at least some. So what are we going to watch next time? This is your
So,
pick.
it's my pick. So I wanted to combine like aspects of the two last movies that we watched, and I decided to go with a black and white Japanese movie, as we watched like Ladies Now Black and Dear Comrades that it was in black and white. And also because for a while we were watching movies that their strength was on their script, you know, about like just trying to just, okay, the acting is okay. As for example, adaptation, the acting is okay with Nicolas Cage.
It's pretty good. It's good in that film.
Let's just say that is his best acting ever. Let's just leave it there. I think that is way better than Live in Las Vegas. And I'm not going to watch Live in Las Vegas again. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah, so I was thinking about like just going back to Japan and going a bit more like with classical cinema there in black and white. And I was surprised that you have never watched Rashomon. That is one of my favorite Japanese movies ever. So that's my pick.
Kurosawa is a major like gap in my film knowledge. Major.
Well, we're going to fix it now. Don't worry.
Thank you. Thank you.
At a time. All right. Anything else to talk about Dear Comrades?
That's it. Nothing more from me.
Okay. And to whoever is out there not having anything better to do with their lives than listening to us, get a life. But thank you for listening.
And wash your hands.
Bye.